Hi, it's Claudia from Create with Claudia. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's episode number 7 of Working Our Scraps Off. This is really coming along nicely. I hope people are enjoying the series as much as I am doing it. It's a series where every month I put out a new, just small little free pattern to work off all of those scraps that I know that we all have. If you're a quilter or a sewist, I guarantee you're going to have some scrap fabrics. Maybe not as many as I do, or maybe you have tons more, I don't know. But this month we're doing something, we're doing placemats, 12 by 18 placemats, and they're Ombré Postage stamp placemats. So we're going to be using up those teeny tiny little pieces of scraps you have. So if you throw those away, you can also use other fabrics, but like these narrow strips that you might have sitting around, you can cut those up. But we're working with small pieces this month. Just fair warning to those of you who don't like real small pieces. But if you like them, it's a fun project. So I'm going to remind you again, we're making an Ombré Postage stamp placemat. That's really hard to say actually in one quick phrase. And I chose brown this month. It's September, and I just thought, you know, with those autumn colors coming in, I thought brown would be pretty. And also our dining room, excuse me. I have a lot of browns in there, so I like brown on my wooden table. So I'm pulling out my brown scraps. As you can see, I don't have as many brown scraps. That's not a color I quilt with all the time, but I managed to, believe me, I managed to get enough. So let me tell you what we're going to need. Alright, so here's everything you're going to need to make one 12 by 18 placemat. You can make one, you can make two. Like we're empty nesters now, so I really only need to make two. Although I'll probably make 4 just because when we have company or something like that, or my daughter comes home, of course, she gets one too. So to make one placemat, you're going to need squares in lights, mediums, and darks of the color of your choice, or you can mix it up, hey, whatever you want to do. You're going to need 216 squares. I know it's a lot of squares. 216 cut 1.5 inches square. So that's about, let me get a darker one to show it up on my hand a little bit better. There you go. 216 of those. And that's for the top. And let me move all those away. And hopefully I cut enough. I counted and recounted. You're going to want a piece of batting. I cut it about 15 by 20, just so I have enough room when I'm quilting the placemat. And then, of course, some backing, and I just used something from my stash, and it's same size, about 14 or 15 inches by 20 or so, depending on how much you like when you're quilting. I don't know. I don't like a ton of overlay because it sort of wastes some batting and fabric for me. The one thing I will say with placemats, this is my preference, I like a thinner batting. Just because it lays flatter, and you know when you have a cup on it or a glass of wine or something, you don't want it to tilt with all that quilting if it's a real puffy placemat. So let's get started. I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see how I lay this out, because it's lots of fun playing with the fabrics. That's one of my favorite things about quilting, is playing with all the colors. And when I come back, I'm going to show you how we lay this out, and then I'm going to sew it. Okay, so the camera's been set up. You can see how I've already laid out the grid. It looks a lot bigger than it should be. Again, the grid is 12 by 18, and that will get you that 12 inches by 18 inches size placemat. I'm going to start with the dark and then center into the really light ones. I may have to cut some more fabric. We'll see. It's more like just coloring and playing. And you lay them out in the grid, and you just start playing with them. And I won't move fabric around until until everything's laid out, and then I'll step back and I'll look at it. Sometimes you might want to take a picture if you don't like something or do like something. So I am going to keep doing this, and you'll see eventually. It takes a little while, I will say that. Eventually it'll all be ready to sew, and then you don't want to move it from your sewing. You're going to keep it in the order that you have, so it's ready to go. All right, so here it is. This is what it looks like when it's not sewn together. I kind of like it. I'm looking at it. I actually can see I have a monitor with my camera setup, so that helps me a lot. Like I said, you might want to step back or take a couple pictures of it, play around with it. I'm trying to see, wondering if this piece here might be, or maybe these here. I'm not sure. I have a couple of extras, so I might switch out. Let's see, that one with that one. I mean, you get the idea. The rest are kind of dark. I don't want to put any more dark ones in. Let me see what else I have. Maybe it's this one. Or no, I think it's this one. Let's see how that looks. There we go. I think that's a little bit more ombre. I'm happy with that. So again, you don't want to move this when you're going to sew it. You're going to sort of get it closer to your machine. I'm going to sort of rearrange things here. And then you just start chain piecing. And I do the shorter rows. I would do those first. And then sew all those rows together. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to readjust the camera a little bit. And then we are going to put this together so you can see this beautiful ombre, and yes, I know it's a lot of pieces, ombre placemat. Alrighty, I'm all ready to sew. This is going to take me a little while, so just sit back, relax. I'm going to fast forward it when I put up the video on YouTube, and I'm going to need my glasses for this one. So again, I'm going to use, forgot to say that, 1/4 inch seam allowance, a really good 1/4 inch of seam allowance, and let's go. Alrighty, here we go. The rows, the smaller rows are now sewn together. Probably can't see them real well. Let me move them down a little bit. There we go, just a little bit. So you can really see how it's coming together. It looks a lot more narrow. It's kind of funny looking now. It looks like a long, almost like a table runner. I'm going to have to remove all of these strings. That's the problem with these small pieces, is you get strings all over. Let me get my iron ready here. Because the next thing I'm going to do is press all of these, and each row I'm going to press in the opposite direction. So I'll press this one this way, this one this way, this one this way. I mean, you get the idea. You go all the way down, I press them first, and then I sew each row together, and I'll pin at each seam. So I get a nice crisp sort of a seam right there, and a nice crisp point, not really a point, but a joining section. And I'm just going to keep doing that, and then this placemat will be, the top will be done, and we'll be ready to quilt it. Okay, so you can really see that ombre effect. It's coming together really nicely, and now again we're going to sew together the rows. And I want to find my pin cushion here, and what I will do is I'm just going to just start across. It's easiest to do. I like doing that in order, and then you're just going to nest those seams together. Because you've pressed to opposite sides, you can nest the seams together and just pin right at that seam. Now I do need my glasses for this. The reason I don't wear glasses a lot in my videos is the light shines off of it, so it looks like I have really bright circles around my eyes. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to finish this up, and then our top of our placemat is going to be done. Alrighty. What do you think? You can really see the ombre, at least I think so. I'm in love with this. I think it's so much fun. It is a lot of sewing. I will say that it's a lot of little pieces, a lot of little fidgety, and you can see I have threads all over me. I'm going to go remove those. The next thing I'm going to do is quilt this, and I already prepared my batting and my backing. And I'm not sure, I'll probably just do a very simple, straight, just a straight stitching, probably along the length of it. I sort of like that with placemats. It sort of elongates it a little bit. I'm going to center this on. I have the backing. You put that wrong sides facing up. Then I layer with some batting. And then I probably, actually, normally I would have given myself a little bit more room on each side. So this is going to be a little tight when I quilt, but it should be okay. So I'm going to get my machine ready, get off all those threads that I got all over my shirt. And then I'm going to quilt this again, just straight line quilting. I'll probably just do it in the ditch. It's nice and easy. Okay, so the threads should be off of my shirt. I shouldn't have worn black today. And this is all ready to go. I wish I had given myself a little bit more room on the sides. I probably would add another inch. That gives me a little more comfort zone when I'm quilting because it'll pull it out a little bit. So I actually think I'm going to end up quilting it like this instead, on the shorter lines, and I will just quilt on the ditch. So I'm going to take this over. My machine's all set up, handy dandy glasses. This should not take me long, and I'm just going to use what's in my machine, which is black right now, and black on the back, and maybe for a little interest. I normally, depends on the mood I'm in. So, but I didn't feel like changing my thread today. So I'm going to quickly quilt this up. I won't show you well, let me finish it up, and then I'll talk to you about the binding. Okay, move over here. There we go. There it is. It's very simple in the ditch quilting. Very, very simple. The next thing I would do, is get my ruler and square this up to about, because there's no seam on this side, should be about 12.5 by 18.5 inches. And then I'm going to add the binding. I'll trim all this excess away. You can see where I just made it. Probably would cut my backing and my batting. Here it's even worse right here, this little corner right here. Let's see right here. Hopefully you can see it. There's maybe like 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch there. Whew, I'm lucky with that one. But so like I said, I'm going to even out all the sides, all 4 sides, make it nice and even. And then I'm going to add the binding. As in the past, I don't show binding because people do binding in all different ways. And so I'm just going to get some scrap browns, and I do it 2.5 inches, and I make one long enough that it goes all the way around in one. I'll have to, sew some pieces together, some 2.5 strips pieces together. Some people do like individual strips on each side. I prefer the method. It's again 2.5 inches all the way around. So when I finish up this video, you will see the finished product. Let me just show you the back really quickly. Very easy. You can see, actually the black doesn't look too bad. And you can see a little bit where my wobbly stitches. I'm not the greatest machine quilter, I will tell you that. That's not my forte. I'm working on it. So anyway, when I come back, this will be finished. So I'm back from my little break. I put the binding on my little Ombré Postage stamp placemat. This is just one of them. I'll probably make another one, and in browns. Again, I need to cut some more fabric before I do. Each piece was cut 1.5 inches, so when they're sewn together, each square is an inch square. And I use, if you want to see, I did use black with brown flecks, brown and gray flecks. I used that for the binding. I wanted to continue with that light in the center and that ombre effect of going out to the darker on the edges, and I thought that tied it in nicely with the black and brown binding. Here's the back. You can see how I did it that way. You can sort of see that fabric a little bit better. Again, this was episode number 7 of my Working Our Scraps Off YouTube series. It's a series where I, each month, just go into my scrap bins. I try not to use my stash. I do for the back pieces a lot of times, but for the front I use my scraps, and I make a little project, a little free tutorial for you guys. I hope you're enjoying it. We've made a lot of fun things. I do have a Facebook group. The link is in my description of the video, and you can head over there and join us. People post all kinds of scrappy things that they do. It's a lot of fun. So I hope you'll check that out too. Next month I'm doing something a little spooky because it's October, and that'll be episode number 8 of, again, it's called Working Our Scraps Off. It's a YouTube series only, although I do have a blog post, but it refers back to the YouTube video, but there's some, usually I post a few more pictures on there as well. To get the amount of fabric you're going to need, that sort of thing, you can head over, well, it was written in this video as well, but if you want to see it and put it up on screen a little bit longer, it's over on my website, www.createwithclaudia.com, where I have my companion tutorial over there, or my companion blog article, excuse me. I am on social media at Create with Claudia, where I post things daily, so I hope you go and check that out. And as usual, I would love it if you'd hit that subscribe button. I always love new subscribers, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.